Thank you so much, sir, for having me uh, take this talk. Can I share my screen? Is the option?
Yes.
So I've prepared a presentation.
Yeah, just a second.
Yeah. So very good evening, everyone. I'll be talking about my journey for the CAT, and I'll be sharing my experience at IIM Bangalore. So talking briefly about my profile, I'm a non-engineer, as Amit sir rightly mentioned. I completed my graduation in 2018 and then appeared for CA finals, got a rank in 2019 in chartered accountancy, and gave CAT 20 and scored 99.69 percentile. So CAT 20 was not my first attempt. It was in fact my third attempt. I had given CAT 17, 18, and 19. So in CAT 17, I had around 98 percentile, but I did not get calls from the colleges which I wanted, and uh, hence I made a decision to give CAT again in 2018. In 2018, I scored 99.4 percentile, but due to lower marks in graduation, I couldn't get calls from IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta, which I wanted, and hence I gave CAT again in 2019. So before joining the B school, that is IIM Bangalore, I worked with a CA firm in Surat as well, and I had a brief experience of around 8 to 9 months. So talking about my preparation, I'll be first talking about the basic overview, and then I'll deep dive into each of the sections shortly so that you can understand what I did. And probably if you feel that that suits you, you can also incorporate them with the changes you would like. So firstly, for CAT, you need clarity of concepts because like in graduation or undergrad, you won't be getting questions exactly which you have practiced. So there'll be changes, there'll be modifications. So for that, you need to understand the concept, which is of paramount importance. You need to maintain a balance between accuracy and time. So as Arun sir rightly mentioned that even if you get a net score of around 50%, you will be in a 99 percentile slot. So you just have to manage your 120 minutes. For me, it was 180 minutes, and hence you just have to balance. And if you even if you attempt 80% of the questions with around 80% of the accuracy, you'll be getting on an average 60 odd percentage, which is pretty good and which can fetch you a 99.5 plus percentile. So do not think that you'll have to like you aim for 100% accuracy, because that will hamper your number of attempts, which will end up you'll end up losing more. You'll end up getting lower marks. The third thing, as sir rightly pointed out, is to identify your weaknesses. So for me, being a non-engineer, quantitative aptitude was one of the major things which I wanted to look at. So in QA as well, there were certain sections which I was comfortable. Like there was simple interest, there was interest calculations, then there was a distance, time, then there was profit sharing. So in all those areas, I was pretty much comfortable. But let's say for geometry, logarithms, so for those areas, I was not that comfortable, and hence, since I knew that I was not scoring in those sections, I prepared for those sections using books. So Arun Sharma's Quant and VARC book helped me a lot in preparing for maths. Apart from that, I gave sectional for quants, especially in the areas which I was lacking. So for example, geometry and logarithm. Then mock cats were definitely a thing which I'll be taking after deep diving into each of the sections. Also, if you can have a peer group who's motivated to crack cat, that will be good, because if you have friends who will be roaming around and seeing them, you'll think that seeing them, you'll not be putting that effort. Whereas if you have a motivated peer group, you'll be more focused and you'll be wanting to give your 100%, and hence that helps. And lastly, as sir pointed out, practice is the only key, as you won't be getting enough questions, and given the time pressure, even if you could solve the question in a normal case, you are not able to solve in a actual exam. That won't fetch you marks, and the only solution for that problem is to practice. Now coming into each of this section. So for verbal ability and reading comprehension, since my exam was for 60 minutes, for the particular section, it was 60 minutes. So I devoted 45 to 50 minutes for RC, because during the mocks, I analyzed that I was scoring the highest in RC, whereas for verbal ability, my time to marks ratio was not that good, and hence I tried to complete all the RCs in the initial 45 minutes. There were 6 RCs for us, and I think for that consisted around 24 questions. For you, it might vary according to the pattern. Also, in RCs, there are different kinds of topics. So there'll be topics on history, there'll be topics on finance, there'll be topics on social arrangements. So choose topics in which you are comfortable. Uh, in case there's a para on history and you are not aware of that, so I would rather suggest you to take that para at the end and start with the para in which you are comfortable. That will help you boost your confidence. Obviously, you can start with a history para as well, and basis your comfortableness with the particular section, you can change your strategy. Also, in VRC, I particularly used the concept of elimination because the options are pretty close. So firstly, once I read the paragraph, I looked at all the options. So in a general question, you can easily eliminate 2 options easily. So you will be remaining with 2 options which are pretty close. So now so my advice would be for you to not leave that question and mark that question which is the closest to the answer which you have thought, because in case if you get that incorrect, you'll be losing -1, whereas if you get that correct, you'll be getting +3. So getting using the probability, you will be getting a +2 marks for every 2 questions, and that could help you. But this strategy should be used with utmost caution, because in case you're not able to eliminate 2 options, like if you are eliminating the right answer in the first filter, then this technique will give you a lot of negative marks. And hence, if you're comfortable, try these techniques in the mocks, try as many things as you want in the mocks, and choose the things which best suits you. And in VA section, I was focused on getting the odd one outs and para jumbles. So those kinds of questions were the best point scorer for me, and hence I kept those for the first. For DILR, what I feel is that you have to manage your time well, and that is the key to succeed in your DILR section. So I spent initial 3 minutes to go through all the sets, and if there were sets in linear arrangement, if there were sets in data interpretation, the sets in which I was comfortable, so I would pick them so that I would get initial confidence in the initial few questions, and that would help me to navigate through the other questions as well. So spending 3 to 4 minutes initially, this might vary since you will be having lesser sets, and I had around 8 sets, and to browse through them I took 3 to 4 minutes, and hence going through sets will help you identify the easiest sets, because even if you crack 4 out of 8 tests, that is 50% of the sets, you'll be getting a decent enough score, which is around 98, 99 percentile in DILR, which is pretty good. Also, you can practice a few basic question types. Obviously, you won't be getting the exactly same kind of questions in your exam, but those basic question types like linear and circular arrangements will help you crack the tougher ones. And with the help of practice and sectionals, you'll be able to at least answer those questions in the exam. For quantitative aptitude, as I told that I was not very comfortable with geometry and logarithm, and hence I tried to focus mainly on them initially, so that I knew that if I could score, let's say 2 questions out of 4 questions asked in geometry, that would give me a boost. And there are definitely easy questions in each of the sections. So you'll have to identify those questions. And if you, as sir rightly told, that 3 questions in each section would change your entire percentile. Like 30 marks is a huge difference in the final scoring, and hence identifying those questions is of importance. For QA, as I told, that concepts are more important than formulas, because CAT won't test your formulas. For geometry, for area, for volume, you would be needing formulas. That is a given. But but unlike your graduation exams where you just have to put a formula and you get an answer, that won't work here. I took 3 rounds for solving this section. So in the initial 30 to 35 minutes, I went to a particular question. If that seemed to be easy, if I was comfortable in doing that, I would do it. Otherwise, I would have marked it and moved to the second question. if that was easy, I would be doing it. So in the first round, I did all the easy questions. And then in the second round, which was around 15 odd minutes, I took it to solve the questions which had medium difficulty. And in case you are left with time after solving the easy and the medium, you can go with the difficult questions. These techniques should purely be dependent upon your comfortableness, and you can try various methods during a mock test. Now, coming to the most important part for CAT preparation, mock analysis. So I gave 30 odd mocks during the entire for CAT 2019. And I initially spent, let's say I was spending 3 hours for giving a mock. So for analyzing the mocks in the initial time, I used to spend around 5 to 6 hours to analyze where I went wrong. Identifying mistakes is the most important thing, because if you know where you are making mistake, only then you can rectify it. If you're consistently scoring low in a particular section, then that means that there's something wrong in that area, and hence you need to work on that. As I told you, I browsed through the questions for DILR to make sure that easy questions are not left unattempted, because even solving a particular set could fetch you 12 odd marks, which could be a differentiator, and that would take 10 odd minutes, and the marks to time ratio is pretty good in those sets. Also, there is in the mocks by the institutes, there is a metric called percentage of students who got that question correct. So let's say if a lot of students are getting a particular type of questions correct, and if you are not getting, you can work on those questions to identify if you're getting that question conceptually wrong, or you're not getting to that question, and you're not identifying that is an easy question. So those kinds of things will help you. Even I had low scores in the initial, and the mock scores fluctuated, but don't get disheartened by low scores, because that is a part and parcel. You can focus on the areas which you are scoring low, and probably you can consult with your friends, you can consult with your with people whom you know, and probably they can help you identify your weaknesses if you are not able to get that. Also, try to resolve all your weaknesses before, and do not keep the mocks, as sir rightly told, for the last few days, because you'll need some time to rectify your weaknesses to study a particular section. Now, coming to my first year at IIM Bangalore. So currently I'm in second year. So my first year could be segregated into two main parts. The first year, the first part, which was for 2 terms, that is around 6 months, was a virtual experience. Given the COVID pandemic, we had classes online. We had to do all the projects online. And contrast with that, in the term 3, I had an opportunity to come to the campus. Also, currently I'm in campus, and hence the campus experience was totally different. Even at the campus, due to the COVID, we had online classes, and there are plans to start the offline classes as well. But the interaction which you can get with the peers, with the students studying here, the networking which you can do offline was a totally different experience. So for example, we had projects, and sitting together and discussing that is a totally different experience than connecting over Zoom and then having a chat on that. Because if you are physically present, that definitely adds to your experience. As Amit sir rightly told, that I'm a sports enthusiast, and we do have a great sports facility. So a lot of my time is spent at sports, because it definitely refreshes a person. And during your CAT preparation as well, I would suggest you to go for things which makes you feel good, and do not focus all the time on studying. These things will help you refresh your mind. There were case competitions. I took part in several case competitions, one of you. So taking part in case competition was a great learning opportunity, since various people presented their views and you could learn from them. So that thing was a great value addition to my first year at IIM Bangalore. And lastly, the summers. So the summer internship process was around a 2 to 3 month process, wherein we had to prepare for the companies which I wanted. I interned with India Research and Funds, which is a joint venture between Piramal Enterprise and Bain Capital Credit, which is a private equity and deals in distressed assets. So the experience of summer, although it was hectic, but it was a great learning experience in terms of what the companies wanted and what you had to build in so that you could match that level. So basically, that was my first year at IIM in Crux, and I would love to have your questions.
Thank you